welcome to another episode of Getting to Know Greenville. I'm Beth Herbster, your local upstate Greenville, South Carolina realtor, and today I'm here with Jed Barker, the founder of Best Life Mortgage. We have worked together for several years now on probably 30 plus deals, or close to it, if not. So thanks for joining me today, Jed, and let's get started. Tell me why you became a mortgage lender.
Sure. I appreciate you having me on. Before I even do that, I want to thank you, Beth.
Oh, yeah.
I had been an entrepreneur for about 15 years, running a company, and I was looking for something I could do that would sort of take me into a second career. And I wanted to sell the company I was at and move into something new. And what I had been doing is selling a product that needed servicing. I was looking for something that would allow me to make a good impact, but also I wouldn't get phone calls in the middle of the night that their product wasn't working. I said, I can sell one thing that I can think of, and I thought about, hey, how I can sell money. How can I sell money? Money doesn't have service calls. So I thought a little bit about that. I said, mortgages, I've never thought about that. And mortgages is a cool way to be able to provide money to people to buy something. And I just thought maybe houses.
I know you've had an interesting journey with your home ownership too, and with the lender side of things. You are a key intricate part. It's not just the realtor, it's not just the title or the closing attorney. You are kind of the spearhead. But I know you have an interesting story as far as your path to home ownership and where you are now, because you have an amazing home. So tell us a little bit about that.
I appreciate that. Just like most people, I had a desire to own a home, and I was living in an apartment when I was 25, 26, somewhere around there, maybe 24, 25, and I was living in a two-bedroom apartment with three kids. That gets a little tight, and a beautiful wife, and we wanted to buy a home. This is back in 2007 or 8, and it was an interesting time because it seemed like every week the house prices were going up by about $10,000 to me, and I was not making a ton of money as a 25-year-old, and I was supporting a four-person family with one income, and we were tired of living in an apartment. And but every week when we watched the news, it's like home prices are going up by this much, by this much, by this month, and I just needed to buy a house. It felt like. Maybe looking back, I did need to rush into it. Maybe I would have been better if I didn't rush into it, but I did rush into it because I felt like if I didn't, I'd never be able to afford a house. And so I went ahead and purchased a brand new build house in a new community. I got in at $136K, and by the time my home closed, I think it was going for about $210. Since then, mostly I've bought homes to live in for my family, because our family grew from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 kids. And so we continued to grow and move. And about 3 years ago, I had an opportunity to buy what we would consider to be our dream home. And it was a beautiful place, and I was able to have really enough money to do that from working hard, but also from saving up the equity in my house, throughout the years.
I think a lot of people, if you talk to them, you ask, they're on the fence, they're waiting, and for whatever reason, right? And then fast forward 6 months to a year, you go back to those same people, or people that decided to make the move. And I don't think anybody that I've really come across, unless it was extenuating circumstances, has ever said, I regret buying a house when I did. Right? Because regardless of what's going on in the market or the news or the buzz or whatever, now is as good a time as any, because nobody has a crystal ball to see what's coming up. So
yep,
jump in while you can.
Yep.
So let's talk about the buzz on the street, the kind of the hot topic, which is current interest rates. What can you tell us? Where are we at? What does that look like? And what do you think?
Sure.
With your crystal ball?
Yeah, I don't really have one, but I'll tell you. I mean, where we're at is conforming conventional loans are just top 8%. It's the highest that rates have been in 40 years, I think. They seem that they will continue to go up for the time being. They're just Doesn't seem to matter what is happening in the world. We're staying on the course right now, where the Fed's trying to fight inflation. So for the time being, we'll continue here. I don't know if that means we stop at 8 or go to 10 or go wherever, because if you go back to the 80s, we were in the 17s and 18s. So I really don't have a crystal ball on that. But right now, that's where we're at. Home buyers are still buying houses. It is more challenging for some people to buy houses right now because it has priced them out of the home they're comfortable with, right. Where they may have to buy a less expensive house in order to buy right now, and some people would rather not, so they'll wait. And so I think it's always the right time to buy for the right people, but it's not always the right time to buy for everybody. I don't know where we're headed with rates, if they'll stay at 8 or go to 10 or 12. But whether they go there or not, I think you and I as professionals in the industry will know how to guide people that are ready, willing, and have to buy a house now. Because some people have to, some people want to, some people just will stay not buying, right?
Right. And I think, rates have always fluctuated over the years, right? It's just the last couple of years, the swing has been extremely dramatic. And I think that's what people are kind of having to adjust to, or not either understanding or comfortable with or familiar with. So what are some products or strategies to kind of counteract those high interest rates where people can still, maybe not get the dream home that they want, but get close enough to where they can still purchase a home?
Yeah, I think we could take some cue from like the national builders. They know that they need to sell a product. They know they're struggling with it, and they know that in order to do that, they're cutting a bit of their profit to do it by giving people somewhat large sums sometimes, to get their interest rates from 8 to 6. And we do see that with your Ryan Homes, D.R. Horton, stuff like that, those bigger builders. But I'm also starting to see it now with your small local builders. And I think sellers now are starting to realize that, they can give back a little bit of that to the buyer in order to sell their home to the person that needs to buy it. So they might get back, $10,000 in concessions to get those rates down. That doesn't always happen, but I am seeing it more and more right now, where sellers are starting to realize, my home's not selling in one day. It's not selling in 1 week. It's been on the market for 30 days. Maybe I can help the buyer buy the house by getting them a rate that's more like it was in 2022. Not 2020.
Right. Well, and even to think, we have discussions in our brokerage about, let's not take money off the price of the house, because why would you devalue an asset, right?
Yep.
So why don't we offer exactly like kind of what the builders are doing, $10,000 in closing costs. So can you talk a little bit and kind of explain to people kind of what that looks like, or what a rate buy down is?
I'll give you just an easy example on a conventional loan. So if someone in our market's buying a $350,000 house, and their rate, if they have great credit and putting 20% down, they may have an interest rate right now that puts them at like 7.8, as high as that. But if they were to spend, let's say, $7,000 to $8,000 on mortgage origination fees, which we call mortgage points, most people know by a point, at 1.1, kind of thing, 1% of the purchase price, they may be able to, knock off $200 from their monthly payment. Which for some people is a big deal, and I think for most of the buyers it is a big deal. There is a real factor there, and we have a lot of people buying homes for the first time that would like to buy that house, but they just can't qualify for it because the price is $200 more expensive than they can get. That kind of thing, right? So sometimes it's a necessity, and sometimes it's just a desire. But either way, it's fine.
I think that makes sense too, because rates ebb and flow, like we talked about earlier, and they always go up and they always come back down. You can always refinance if you can make, and I think it goes back to what you said, the monthly mortgage payment. If you can swing that right now, and then just refinance when rates eventually go down, because they will eventually go back down, then, maybe that's the best option for some people out there too. And to your point, depending on how much cash they have on hand or out of pocket, it goes back to, it's so important to be connected, not just with the lowest rate or the quickest deal lender, right? I won't name any, but I think everybody knows kind of who those are out there. You see them on TV. But, I think it really it really matters who your loan officer is. And like you said, you take the time with people, you really talk through different options, and just because it sounds good might not work for, this person or that person. So I think that's really important too when you're in this journey of the home buying process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We see it all the time. A lot of people, they like shiny things, and sometimes shiny things are interest rates.
Well, what are some maybe specialty, I think most people are generally familiar with, conventional loans, FHA loans, VA and USDA, but are there any other kind of special products or programs that you have that you offer your clients?
I think on the primary residence side, where people are buying homes to live in with them or their families, they're not renting them out. If you talk about anything that's out of the norm, as a mortgage person, we were going to call those like a non-conforming loan, because it doesn't fit the model of the conforming conventional or government financing programs that have a lot of regulation by the government. And so we're going to go to areas, a lot of times for self-employed people, that kind of thing. Yeah, really. And those would be ways to get income out of things such as only looking at 1099s instead of tax returns, or only looking at bank statements instead of tax returns, or only looking at a profit and loss statement instead of tax returns. So there's an idea for business owners that will not qualify if they were to do it traditionally, but they could qualify if they were to do a P&L or a bank statement or a 1099. So there's some there. But we're not trying to qualify people that don't qualify. We're trying to qualify people that don't qualify traditionally.
And that's the key. I think that you hit the nail on the head with that statement, because some people are probably listening to this and being like, "Oh, we're giving loans to anybody." No, that's not it.
No, they're not easy loans to get. Those kind of loans that I've discussed typically they're usually only achieved by people who are highly qualified, meaning that if you and I help some person buy a house that may be less qualified, they may be only having like 3% down, little savings, but they qualify for an FHA loan, right? Or they qualify for this kind of loan. But that person who just was going to qualify for all those programs I discussed, they actually have to have quite a bit more money. They actually have to have higher credit. They have to have the other things that someone on a conventional loan wouldn't have to have because of the government-backed products and stuff like that. So not putting those products down and not putting those products out, because they're all good, but there's just different things for different people. Absolutely. And having someone that could tell you what you need is a starting point, I guess, for success.
When again, it goes back to your loan officer. Not everybody fits in the same box, and to have that kind of open dialogue, like these are what my goals are. This is what I'm looking for. How can you help me, get there? And so, what advice or what could you tell first-time home buyers as far as like, are there any special programs that you offer for first-time home buyers? Because I know a lot of people are kind of like, well, what's my first step? How do I get started if I don't have enough money?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I can go two ways with this, with you, Beth. I can be real, which is give you advice like I give my kids, and I could do that, and I will do that. Or I could give advice that I wouldn't give my kids, but some people want to hear, and it works for them too. But it's just not the pathway I would take my kids down as far as that goes. So I'll go with my kids' advice first, because I have adult kids.
Let's be real, Jed.
Yeah, I have adult kids that are going to be buying houses, and if they say to me, "How do I get ready to buy a house?" I would sit down with them first off, and I'd show them the numbers, and I'd say, this is the house that would be a good starter home for you. This is what it costs right now, as far as like the total price of the house, and these are the loan products available for you, and these are the qualifications of these loans. And so let's go look and see which would be the best one for you. So for my son, 21, he's going to buy a house in 2 years. He might find that an FHA loan is going to be his best loan, and so we may look at that and say, hey, what you're going to need is 3.5% down. And so you're going to save 3.5% for this house. So what do you have now, and how do you set aside money aside to save for the home? So I would be making sure with my children, and if I'm talking about first-time homeowners, a lot of them are in my children's age, 25, 26, 27, I would always suggest, if they would listen to me, save up for your down payment, save up for your closing costs, and get 3 months of savings in the bank. When you have achieved that, I think you're ready to buy a house. Other parents might give their kids enough money to buy a house and a down payment.
Right.
I think that's totally awesome for them, but I still would suggest they have their savings set aside so they can be successful homeowners.
With that, we've helped a lot of people together, and then you also as a loan officer. What is the most memorable experience that you've had so far that sticks out in your mind?
So usually the ones we remember are the ones that were a little more challenging. People that may have come to us that said that after we do a consultation with them, we're like, you know what, your credit's a little low here, and you didn't save enough money yet for this, but why don't we work together for the next 6 months, and why don't you hit some goals, and then let's talk, once a month about where you're at. Some of those have been great experiences for me, because I've seen people go from just not even understanding how to do or get a loan, like they have no clue how to get a loan. They just call because they want to know, to actually really qualifying to buy their first home within 6 months to a year, and then having a great, having that experience to know someone that long, and helping them buy a house. Those are the most memorable ones. I'm not saying they're always my favorite ones, but they are the most memorable loans because the people have changed so much during that time.
And I know, like I said, you really put the time, the effort, and the care into your clients. And I know that you also support a very important charity with your business. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, about, I don't know, almost 3 years ago now, I was on a Zoom call like this with a business associate of mine, and we were discussing different things we wanted to do with our careers. And it came up that we believe in, donating and stuff like that, like a lot of people do. And church-wise, we both had an upbringing of donating, tithe to our churches, like 10%. And that's always just been sort of a given that we do that. But we said, hey, what about our business? Can our business do something like that? Like, can we do something else besides just our tithe to a church, which is special? But what can our business do? So at that point, we decided to tithe 10% of our business revenue as well. And then we had to find where to put it. And we decided that both of us had a heart for protecting kids and what could we do with kids. And then we said, hey, we'll donate 10% of our business revenues to saving children from sex slavery. And this was about 3 years ago that we started that. And it's obviously a big problem. I think it's even more known these days with movies that have come out and this and that. But it was something that we felt our hearts to get into, and we had a lot of good time with that, because we're not on the front lines doing raids and everything, and our wives probably wouldn't want us to, as far as that goes. But we were able to donate money to save and protect children, and it's about $1,500 to save, fund one child's freedom, if you think about from a standpoint of the raid that goes into it, or the program of saving kids from slavery. And so we had figured out it would take about 7 loans to save a kid, because it was 10% of our net revenues on that. And so every 7 loans we started saying, hey, we did 7 loans, we were to save a child. 7 loans, we saved another child. 7 loans, and we just started to continue to do that, and it was a good experience for us.
That's awesome. That's an amazing story and an amazing charity. So thank you for your work in that. What do you do for fun? I know you work hard, but what do you do for fun, and what are your favorite things to do in the upstate?
So in this time of my life, my most favorite thing to do is to get off the computer and my phone and hang out with my kids and my animals.
Animals? Tell us about that. I know you got a little farm, don't you?
Yeah, I have more or less at times, but since I'm moving into this little farm, we have chickens, we have goats, we have horse and dogs and cats and stuff, and I just like being out of the online stuff. And out of the world for a little bit. The world's a pretty crazy place. When you go on social media and go through YouTube, it's like every other video is about another war, that kind of thing. And it's unfortunate, and there's a lot of craziness, but you need to unplug from it. So I like unplugging from the world for a moment, and just looking up at the sky and breathing in and saying, wow, this is a beautiful place. That kind of thing. So I love that a lot.
Place.
I love getting out and walking around. So I walk through my town a lot. I know I post that sometimes on social media, but I like getting out and walking around my town, and I like walking up all these streets that you would never go to. Like, you would never go to these streets. There's no reason to ever go to these streets. You're not going to drive them for no reason. So, but I like walking around all the streets in the whole town, looking at the houses, what they're like. Sometimes I see rundown houses that no one lives in. I'm like, I wonder who's going to rebuild that house. And then 2 months later, I see that someone's starting to rebuild it. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. That kind of thing, right? So I see that. and then all the businesses on the main street seeing them and who's doing that and what they're doing with their business. And so I like doing that a lot. My kids and I like playing sports and stuff out in the yard and so those kind of things. We like going out to eat once in a while. We haven't we don't venture too much away from our town lately, but we do. There's a lot of like nice restaurants, like some French restaurants and Italian restaurants, and sometimes some good Mexican. So there's lots of places to go. Even in a small town, there's lots of places to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you're not too far from Greenville and Spartanburg and
Exactly.
Some people wouldn't call them big cities, but bigger than Landrum.
Greenville, it's funny, when you live in a small town for even 3 years, you do sort of feel like you're in a bigger city when you go visit even Greenville.
Yep. Well, thank you, Jed, for taking the time to talk with me today. I am Beth Herbster, your local upstate Greenville realtor. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to comment, share this video if you think it would help somebody that's looking to start the home buying process, and subscribe. And also check out the video on Park Bench, the website. You can subscribe to the newsletter and find out more information from local businesses, restaurants, community information, and interviews. So everybody have a great day. Thanks, Jed.
You appreciate it.